Where you are joining from. It's always nice to hear. As always, throughout the session, you can chat to us in the chat, but if you do have any questions, please try and keep those to the Q&A functionality at the bottom of your screen. That's really going to help us keep track of the questions that are being asked and help make sure that we can reply to them all in the right order. So yes, thanks again for joining. Just a few pieces of housekeeping from me. As always, we are obviously recording the session and we are live streaming. So if you get disconnected at any point, you can head on over to our YouTube channel. You can see it there, and you'll be able to watch live there as well, and also be able to throw any comments in the chat in YouTube too. As always, we'll have some product updates from our team, and then we'll move into Q&A section. As I said just previously, you can use the Q&A functionality at the bottom to type out your questions. We have a couple of people from the support team that's going to try and type their responses during the session, but we'll also bring some of those questions on stage. And also, if you'd like to come on stage at the end, you can use the react button and the raise hand in there. And then we'll know that you want to come on stage to ask your question when we get to the Q&A section. So that's it from me. I'm going to hand over to Nick now to take it away with some AI updates.
Hello, everyone. A few quick ones. So starting with the Knowledge Hub, as a reminder for those of you maybe tuning in only recently, the Knowledge Hub is our endeavor to allow you to give more information to the AI when you're generating messages in the inbox so that it is more contextually relevant and more accurate. We're continuing our rollout and continuing making improvements to it. One thing I wanted to share today is something we shipped the other week, which is, sorry, Miles, go back, which is a way to kind of test out on your side what happens after the import process into the Knowledge Hub. So what you're seeing here is a new section in Knowledge Hub, which is generated automatically for you, where you can basically ask questions to the AI that a guest might be asking in the conversation to come. And the answers that are provided are more or less matching what's going to happen in the inbox AI generations, and it is using information from the Knowledge Hub that you've imported. So it's just a nice way for you to make sure that this is working as intended. Now, if we can go forward to the next slide, what we're doing is we're rolling out the Knowledge Hub to half of all beta users. So quite a few of you should have access now. If you want direct access, please let us know in the chat. Make sure if you're sharing your email, share it only to the panelists, not to everyone, and I'll add you. But we are now accelerating the rollout, so you'll have access to the Knowledge Hub very shortly anyway. Moving on, we have a few things to touch on Inbox AI. Very briefly, we are continuing testing both new models. OpenAI recently, just basically the other day, released a new model. We've already started testing it with some of your prompts. And we're also testing out models on Anthropic and Google AI as well as variations of the Inbox AI prompts for like different instructions and how they're structured to basically try and get a better, what we're calling conversion from the suggested AI message to you sending it without any changes. That's a metric that we track internally to give us a sense of like how well these AI generations are performing. And to put that into context, like why we're doing this much testing these days, when you look at the numbers, we're actually doing over 7,000 generations per day. Miles, if you carry on, we do over 7,000 AI messages are generated in the inbox by you and other hosts every single day. And as an example, it's still early days, but a very recent new model that we're testing is already seeing a bump of 5% of going from the AI generated message to it being sent as is, so with no changes. When you look at the numbers, actually pretty significant. That means dozens, or as we're moving forward, soon hundreds of messages are being sent without any changes. That's a big bump. So that's why I wanted to give you kind of some context for like why we iterate, why we make changes, maybe small and subtle sometimes, to the models that we choose and the prompts that we work on. And one last thing I want to mention on AI, I want to talk to you. If you use this QR code, or if you follow that link, or again, if you reach out in The chat here, I'm just going to leave my email. Basically, I want to talk to you. Schedule a call with me, please. We'll chat for 15 minutes. I want to know like how you're using the inbox, how you're using the AI in the inbox. What pains are you going through using the system? Like, I just want to know what you're doing and how we can help, how we can improve the AI moving forward. So please kill my calendar, fill it with meetings. I look forward to it.
But make sure they're customers, Nick, though. No competitors. Okay. Cool. Moving on for direct.
Gladly talk to them too.
Yeah, okay. In a different way, hopefully. Some updates on payment terms. So this has been, the big launch of the summer, I guess, for the direct team is payment terms. So yeah, data's still great. This is the first town hall we've had since it's been fully rolled out. So I think last Wednesday was when we released it to general audience. The remaining hosts that hadn't had access yet were direct basic hosts that were non-beta users. So now everybody has it, all premium, all beta users have payment terms. So it should be working for you as long as you have refundable checkpoints in your cancellation policy. We did kind of increase the reach of them by lowering the threshold. So we qualify every reservation for whether or not it's going to be offered payment terms by the lead time. So it needs to have at least a week between payment checkpoints. It needs to be obviously a refundable policy, like I said. So we're able to enforce the non-refundable portion of your cancellation policy. And it needs to be of a certain amount. It's an arbitrary amount. We started at $500 and realized that there's really no good reason not to offer it. It's always a choice for the guest. So yeah, there's no damage done by offering them more often for the levels up to, starting from $100 or more for the reservation amount. These work for custom quotes too. We've gotten a couple comments about that. There's no visibility yet. So you won't actually see, unfortunately, the payment terms yet when you're generating a custom quote in direct. But as long as the reservation qualifies on those kind of conditions that I just described, we will be offering the guest payment terms. When they go to pay, they'll be able to choose those as well. So they work for custom quotes too. And then since the release, Aaron's been working mainly on visibility. So improving visibility in the inbox. You'll see that right sidebar. Just as of today, we've been making updates on that. So you'll be able to see scheduled payments, failed payments when they're in your grace period, meaning we try to automatically collect the next scheduled payment, but we were unable to, for whatever reason, insufficient balance, whatever. We keep reattempting. And then if it reaches the end of your grace period, we would have to cancel the reservation if we've been unable to collect the payment. During that time, we're also emailing the guests. We're giving them a link to pay. They can change to a different payment method if it's the bad credit card, whatever. So we're doing really everything I think we can to get that payment for you. The other thing with this improvement on visibility is we'll give you the ability to extend your grace period from the inbox reservation. So if you're talking with a guest and they've given you a believable explanation for why they haven't been able to make their payment, you can extend that reservation so you don't lose the booking. But it should run on autopilot for you, generally speaking, and almost all the reservations so far. I think we've had like one cancellation that we were monitoring where we were unable to collect the next payment. We'll see those occasionally, but it's definitely the minority of times. So looking at the latest data from payment terms, so this is the last 7 days. So that should be at a full rollout. So I think the last number we gave in a town hall was 14% of all direct bookings had payment terms. Now that's up to 21% now that we're at a full rollout. So that's really encouraging. This number's come down, which is also what we would expect since we lowered the threshold from $500 to $100. We're offering payment terms a lot more, but they're probably providing less utility for some guests when it's $100, $200, $300 booking. Multiple payments is actually probably a pain for anyone that doesn't have a problem paying that in one go. So we're seeing less users choose payment terms because we're offering them more often and on smaller amounts. And then, the total scheduled payment. So this is all scheduled payments that have not been collected yet. I think this was about 300K when we spoke last. And this is just, with 1 week of full rollout. We're now up to a little over 500K in scheduled payments that we've been able to save the guests from having to pay up front. And we've seen some long ones. I think I saw one yesterday. It was $11,000 booking 15 months in advance. And that was really, really nice to see that guest did not have to pay for an $11,000 booking all at once, 15 months in advance. A very minor update. We did improve some of the language on the review and confirm screen in the booking flow. We did this. One is for payment terms, just to make sure that the guest understands that if they fail to make their scheduled payments, the consequence of that could be cancellation. And we also added, while we were in there, a more explicit acceptance of your house rules. Those have always been in the booking flow. They're in the guest portal as well. We're going to add them as well to the guest verification flow, I think. So as we're a project we've kind of talked about on past town halls, and Emily will go into more detail about this, but we've moved kind of Autohost guest verification flow that we use for direct premium. We've moved that into the guest portal. Sorry, it's not live yet, so we're moving it to take more control over it. So at that point, we'll be able to actually have a screen there to get explicit acceptance of house rules. For now, we've added it to the terms and conditions to get better visibility there and hopefully have more compliance stays and better guests for you. Moving on. Yeah, anyone on premium, our legacy Hospitable customers, you were on the 6% plus $10 fee. This got retired at the end of July. So from August 1st, we brought you up to the same the same premium service fee that all of our pricing tier customers have been on since the beginning. So 4% plus 3%. That split fee is really nice. We see just a lot of reservations going through our Slack for webhooks, reservations that are happening, and just looking at a much smaller fee has been great. It looks a lot more attractive to the guests. And you can go all the way and remove the fee entirely from the reservation by selecting a host-only fee. This is something that's been mentioned in these town halls. In the beginning was the feedback from the town halls that got us here. So this is what the animation you're seeing at the bottom of the slide is. If you go into direct and your booking policy manager, you now, if you're a direct premium host, have an option to decide how your fees are presented. And if you want to hide the fees from the guest, you can take that entire premium service fee as a host-only fee, and then you won't have that fee on your quote. And we'll see what it does to conversions. We'll be monitoring that going forward and see if we can detect an uptick in conversions for hosts that have selected the host-only fee. The other thing related to fees, one thing is that we'll be doing Apple and Google Pay very soon. I've been talking about a lot. It's a small update. We just need the resources to do it. Those are going to be more expensive for us on the Hospitable side to convert. So that's the other reason why we wanted to adjust the fees is the actual interchange fees for Apple and Google are more expensive, but they're going to bring us much higher conversions. So we're excited for that. But that also explains some of that fee change. And then looking at other payment methods that are hopefully going to be able to lower the fees we charge. So pay by bank is something we've been working on with a vendor now. It's in a pilot phase with our payment service provider on the premium side. We'll hopefully do it with both basic and premium, but it allow us to do the direct debit for a payment, avoiding credit card interchange fees. I think this is going to be a pretty quick rollout, so we'll try and get this out maybe before the end of September if everything goes well. There's still a few dependencies on the pilot status of that program, but that would allow us to reward everyone involved in this kind of triangle that we're in. So we'd be able to incentivize the guest, give them a $10, $25, $50, $100 discount depending on the size of the booking. Lower the fees that we charge you that are accounted for by the payment processing costs that we include for premium. We would be able to lower those fees, and we'd be happy too because we'd be making more money. The interchange fees, obviously 3-4% if on the Amex side, and Google and Apple Pay slightly higher. So that would be a huge win for everybody to make pay by bank an option in the flow. So we'd be able to ask people if they prefer to pay by direct debit. That's also something that we've been looking at as a midterm rental kind of project, which is what we're getting into now is some of those midterm rental feature sets. And one of them is obviously if you're paying every 30 days, basically paying rent, paying 3% on top of that is a lot. And that's your burden as the host is where those payment processing fees are covered. So it would be better if we could lower those and take direct debits for them. What else? We made some site improvements. This has been a long time coming, and unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot to announce tonight. Our site guy is out on leave for a few weeks now. But before he left, he gave us a gift. So did some major SEO improvements. The toolkit we use to kind of test our SEO capabilities is now returning a 100% score. So that's going to mean better site activity for you guys, more people finding you through Google. So we're excited about that. We'll try and share some more specific data, how that's working. I think it's too early right now for those changes, but this is good. It's gonna look better when you share a site now. We're doing better identification of the sharing image, the sharing title, the metadata for that, and then everything that happens in the background for Google's metadata for search. And then the homepage, we added this little improvement for the list view of your homepage. I don't know why we didn't do this sooner. No, I know why. We didn't have resources, but we were just showing before the picture and the title of your property. Very simple update to add a little bit of data about each property. So especially you guys that have maybe 4 or more properties, it's a lot easier to just browse and digest what your inventory looks like with this very, very, very small update. So we're excited for Tom number 2, Tom Rulofs on our direct team to come back from holiday. He's got a lot of good ideas. He's got a lot of experience on the sites. So we're going to be knocking out a lot of improvements very quickly when he's back from leave. And okay, on the backend side, so talking about APIs for anyone that does their own development for their sites or any vendors that you work with that do site developments, we have a couple new endpoints available. We covered one of these in the direct Q&A last week. It's a quotes endpoint, super exciting. It basically allows you as a developer to generate all of the data that we have in the Hospitable booking widget, so you can make your own widget if you're a developer or working with a vendor. So yeah, that'll unblock you to make a 100% match with whatever your site design motif is. You'll be able to have full control over the booking widget. It's also going to enable a few integrations that have been waiting on this for us. So we're going to be looking at adding more channels to direct very soon. Right now, it's just Google Vacation Rentals. This endpoint was needed for that. So that's an exciting update. And then the property endpoint, an existing endpoint, is going to get some new data. So anyone that's developing a site, you're missing like your public name for your property in this endpoint now. You're missing your property description, etc. We're going to be able to return that now in kind of a more verbose optional call of that endpoint, so you can get all the data you need for your site. And I had an ETA as a placeholder because I don't know the ETA yet, but I'll see if I can check on that while we do Q&A and see if I can get back to you on that. But it shouldn't be a big lift for that property endpoint improvement. And last slide for me, just an update on our top direct hosts. We mailed out our prize packages, I guess, your incentive awards for hitting milestones. So everyone that hits 100K in bookings on the direct side, we started sending out some packages to celebrate with you, your milestone. We're doing it at the 100K level, the 500K level, and the $1 million level on direct. And the idea is you've got a nice little award, and we're hopefully buying a little bit of your time to interview you for our social media and share what made you successful on direct, so more of our community of hosts can benefit from your success and how you figured out how to crack direct bookings and really make a huge impact on your business. The biggest direct host so far, I checked just before this, $855,000 in bookings so far. So that's a pretty material impact to a business to be saving that much money over those bookings. And that's all for me.
Cool. Thanks, everybody. First of all, Nick is egging you on. He's only gotten 7 calls booked. So please, he said kill his calendar. So you need to book some more calls with him. All right, cool.
7 in just a few minutes. Like I'm looking forward to a lot more coming up.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, I'll dive into a couple quick updates. First one for smart locks. So when you're going to connect a device to Hospitable, we will let you know if a separate keypad is required for that device, and allow you to connect that keypad. And then we give separate connectivity status and separate battery status, as well as notifications if you have those enabled for those keypads. So here's a little screenshot of what that looks like in your devices tab. So that is a nice little win for smart locks. Moving on to ad hoc guest verification. Andrew kind of hinted at this. We've talked about this a couple of times, and I have some visuals to show and also a launch plan for this. So ad hoc guest verification is a project we've been working on for a while with our partner Autohost. As many of you know, a lot of times guest verification products require a minimum property account or require you to verify all guests no matter what. And we heard from many of our hosts that you just want to verify this one guest that gives you a weird feeling, or you just want to verify guests on booking.com because you know booking.com doesn't do a great job verifying themselves, or whatever it may be. So we are releasing ad hoc guest verification, allowing you to just verify whatever guests you want, whatever you want. So here's a little visual of what it looks like in your inbox. So when you're in that messaging thread, this is a GIF and I can't put it back, but in the sidebar, you'll see a little call to action to request verification. There it is. And then you'll go through this flow where you can toggle on identity verification and or a sex offender check, and then write the guest a quick message and send it off. So that's what your kind of first experience with this will feel like. The guest is going to receive that message with a link to the guest portal, which is going to be available regardless of platform, not just on direct. And we can go to the next screen here, and this is a little bit more about the guest portal experience. So what the guest is actually going to see and interact with when you've requested that they do additional verification. So they're greeted with this homepage, which has just very basic reservation information, and then they can click get started and they get kicked into this flow where we're going to verify that they're actually the guest who made the booking. So we'll send them through a one-time password process, either from their email if we have it, but typically it will be SMS if this is a reservation coming from a platform that doesn't share email with us. So they'll verify that they're the right guest. And then next we'll put them through a couple of different screens. I'm not showing everything because there's a good bit. But they'll have to complete personal information, confirm their email, phone number, address. They'll be prompted to upload their identification, and there's a lot of different types of identification they can upload, passport ID. They'll have to take a selfie so that we can match that selfie against the ID and make sure that it's the person who owns the ID is the one who's submitting that information, and complete the purpose of stay and stuff like that. If they are verified and approved, actually, let me say one thing real quick. After you request this and before they've finished it, we're going to be pausing all scheduled messages for that guest from that point in the future. So we're not going to send any check-in messages to that guest. We're not going to send any door codes to that guest until they've been approved. So this is one way, like we can't cancel the reservation exactly because this is a reservation that's made on the platform, but we can decide not to send them important information that they need to get in if we have like a funny feeling about that particular reservation. So if you request verification, all the future messages checking it on are paused for that particular reservation. Once the guest actually goes through the portal and submits their information, you'll be able to see in your inbox thread that either they've been approved, in which case we'll go ahead and reschedule all those messages and it'll be like nothing ever happened and they'll be able to get in, no problem. But if they're flagged for review for any reason, we'll tell you why. You'll be able to click on the status in the sidebar and check out this modal and see everything we got back from our partner Autohost. They give like a nice little collection of risks, recommendations. You can check out the ID, you can look at the selfie, see maybe Autohost wasn't able to say that it matched programmatically, but maybe you see, oh yeah, that is the same person. It was just blurry or something like that. So you'll be able to kind of review the guest profile here and make a decision. Do you want to ignore this warning and allow check-in anyways? If you choose that, then great. We'll reschedule all those messages and send them as intended. Or you can continue withholding them. And maybe you decide that you want to go to the platform that the reservation was made on and you want to cancel and do so hopefully without penalty because you have good reason in this Autohost report to say that you had a bad feeling about them. So that's a little bit more about ad hoc guest verification. We have a lot more planned for this, but we are going to go ahead and start a private pilot this week. So if you were one of the people who had a call with me, oh my gosh, it feels like months ago at this point about this, I'm going to be reaching out to you as a little thank you for helping us with research and giving your account access to this. I'll provide all the information so you know what to expect. The first verification is on us. So we want you to be able to experience this and see what the process is like without having to pay for it. From that point forward, they are paid. We also have to pay our partner. And you can make that decision as you go. It'll make the price very clear to you when you're going through. Our hope is that private pilot goes really, really well and we can go to beta and then eventually all of our hosts by the end of the month. But we're going to keep that a little open-ended depending on what we learn from this pilot. But we're excited to finally get this out. Next, for ad hoc guest verification, we have a lot of other improvements planned. For hosts who have a lot of properties, who might be doing a lot of verifications, we want to create kind of a more streamlined workflow, if you will, for things that might need your manual review and have an easy way for you to do that kind of in bulk if that's a situation that you're in. And then we're also going to look at like follow-up actions. So if a guest couldn't be verified because maybe their selfie was blurry or something, we're going to look at what it might take for you as a host to say like, hey, I just want them to redo the portal, but just take that selfie again because we didn't get a good look and we weren't able to match it. So kind of improving those follow-up actions is another kind of project we have for the future for this. Okay, cool. Next, owner statement, totally shifting gears. A quick owner statement update. We released owner statements to kind of a second cohort of pilot users. So thank you for everybody who raised your hand in the last town hall and expressed interest. You guys have all received invites to that and should see it in your account now. Some things that we had shipped from the last town hall, we now have a much more granular way to define your commission structures. So you can set a commission that's specific to one platform, and you can also set a commission that's specific to a single fee. So you can say like, I want to charge commission on all my fees, but not cleaning fee. Or I want to charge 20% commission on all my reservations, but for direct, I want to charge 25% instead. So you have a lot more flexibility with how you define those commissions within our product. You can also delete commissions in case you screwed up and want to start over. And we have a ton of other things planned. The roadmap for owner statements is probably going to be a never-ending thing. There's always room for improvement. And the people who have participated in the pilot, thank you so much because you guys have given awesome feedback. What we're working on now is a workflow to allow you to quickly review and publish statements before they're sent to the owners. So we have this kind of concept of open statements and closed statements. And we want to give you an easy way to see like, okay, these are the ones that you should be reviewing now. Maybe you forgot to add a transaction and want to do that real quick before you publish it. So a better workflow for that. Also considering how to go about more advanced revenue recognition. So there's like a lot of big words altogether, but basically, right now, all of our reservations show on the statement based on the check-in date. And we've gotten a lot of feedback, maybe from about half of you, that you'd like that to be prorated so that the accommodation, like if a reservation overlaps months, say in July and August, you actually recognize the revenue for that on 2 months instead of just the month of the check-in. So we're looking at what it's going to take to do that as well. That is something we're committed to doing, but it's complicated, so we want to do it right. Semi-related to owner statements, but it's going to impact everybody in a good way. We're also working today, we're probably going to be able to roll this out later this week, allowing you to give a better pricing breakdown for manual reservations. So if you use manual reservations a lot, if you're like taking reservations on the phone or something like that, as you know, right now, we only have one field to tell us the total of the reservation. But like an actual reservation that comes from platforms has so many more fields. We've got fees, we've got taxes, we've got discounts, all this stuff. And so they don't really align. So we're bringing alignment to the pricing that we collect from manual reservations so that you're actually going to be able to make good use of these in your metrics. And on your owner statements, we're going to be able to properly actually calculate your commission because we really need that breakdown in order to do so. So that's another thing which we're planning on shipping later this week. Okay. Everybody knows owner statements was the one thing we needed to launch our Mogul plan. So when we announced our new plan structure a couple of months ago, we talked about how we could have immediately rolled out with host plan and pro plan, and Mogul plan was coming soon because we needed owner statements to do it. So that time is now. We are ready to launch our Mogul plan next week. It includes owner statements. And like I said, we've got a long roadmap, a lot of them aimed at features that will be aimed to please your owners, like an owner portal, maybe paying your owner their payouts, stuff like that. So we're excited about what's to come there. But if you need owner statements and are interested, Mogul plan will be ready starting next week for you. So if you've already expressed interest in this, you can expect to hear from Vera and our lovely sales team, who's probably going to throw their contact information in the chat here soon. Owner statements is a little bit of a different beast. They're going to handle this with white glove care, if you will, and have a nice onboarding call and kind of walk you through the process. And for that reason, right now, Mogul plan is going to be a sales-led thing. They're going to reach out to you if you've expressed interest, but in the coming weeks, we'll also kind of open the gates a little bit more for the rest of you who are interested as well. So yeah, that's my update. There will probably be some questions about that, and we'll be happy to answer them in Q&A. Miles.
Cool. Thank you very much, Emily. So as always, folks, just a reminder that if there's an update here that you didn't see, a feature that you think that we should be adding, an improvement that you think that we should be making, you can go over to feedback.hospitable.com. You can check the requests that are already in there, and if you still don't see the one that you want to see us improve, please add it as a suggestion. We obviously review those, and the product team keeps an eye on the suggestions there and the ones that are getting upvoted, and that helps us to decide what we build next, along with any comments and questions you're leaving in the chat right now. Cool. So just before we get into the Q&A, just a couple more updates. As a reminder, we do have a bunch of open roles that we are hiring for at the moment. So if you join these sessions and you think you'd love to kind of join the Hospitable team and get involved in helping us build some of these projects and getting more hosts using them, please apply. You can scan the QR code or go to that URL there to find out more. And then finally from me, just a couple more events that are upcoming. So next week, if you want to learn more about owner statements that Emily just spoke about, she's actually hosting an hours-long Q&A, especially devoted to it. So she'll provide another detailed update, probably giving a few more demos around exactly what owner statements will look like. And then also obviously having time for Q&A there to really kind of dig deep into exactly what we're delivering with owner statements. And then obviously in 2 weeks' time, we'll have another town hall. So again, you can scan those links if you're interested in joining any of those events. And then finally, just a reminder that our tickets are selling fast for our Host and Toast Roadshow. So if you'd like to come and see the Hospitable team in person in Orlando, Atlanta, Austin, or LA in October, and we're going to be visiting local breweries in those cities, and we're going to just kind of have a nice networking sessions where we can meet some local hosts and get to talk to them in person rather than over Zoom, and then a good opportunity for you to meet other hosts in the local area as well. Cool, and that's it from me, folks. So going to move into the Q&A section now. So as I said before, if you'd like to raise your hand, you can use the react button at the bottom of your screen. And inside there is a raised hand functionality, and then I will invite you on stage. So we're going to start off with James. Hello, James, inviting you on stage.
Hi, can you hear me? Great, looks
Yes,
like
we
it.
can.
Thanks for adding me on here. I had a quick question. Something that I haven't heard a lot about in a while is custom messaging rules and specifically conditions within that. Something within there that I just haven't seen a lot of updates on things being added or things being developed for it. And more specifically, one thing I've noticed is that in the guest messaging platform, some months ago, Hospitable started recognizing when guests are local guests and even sometimes, marking how far they are from the property. And something that could be really useful is actually having a condition around that to help create custom messaging flows for guests that may be local versus not local. But I haven't seen any updates on that. I've tried to make recommendations on that, but I'm just not sure if conditions is something that Hospitable is still developing, or if that's kind of on the sideline looking at potential AI solutions that may be coming out later in the year.
Oh, you're good, James. You already jumped to the answer. Yeah, I think the consensus internally on those custom codes is they're pretty difficult for our hosts to figure out. And there's probably a more modern way to do that. One of those is with AI. So we've already started adding a couple of what we call smart codes now that are able to take more complicated conditions without you needing to set them up. So that's kind of the direction we're headed with that. I appreciate your thoughts on the local versus non-local guest. I think that hasn't come up recently. So yeah, it's not something we're actively working on. I think the next big project for us that kind of touches on these codes is the upsells. And so we've used the most popular conditional codes for us have always been the upsell an early check-in or a late checkout or an orphan night. Those are things we can do a lot better job with AI. And so, yeah, that shouldn't require setup for you. It should be a zero setup feature other than kind of telling us what your price schedule is for those things. So is it free for an hour? Is it $10 for 2 hours early, et cetera? When we have that, we should be able to do a lot more than we're doing now with those conditional codes. We should be able to actually completely automate the entire process from collecting the additional payment, updating the check-in time or checkout time on your calendar. We should know that an orphan night is a lot more valuable for you to sell, meaning you could discount it a lot more heavily and further out from that day than just an extra night on a reservation that might be, you know, maybe if it's the wrong day of the week, you wouldn't actually want us to upsell an extra night. All those things, we can build a recommendation engine using AI to do a great job, much better than we can do through a conditional code. So like all the activity and energy we have for like doing anything with conditional codes, I think will be done through the upsell process. And the idea is we'll hopefully be able to kill that as a feature and make it a zero setup work, project for you. Does that make sense?
Yep. If I could just have a follow-up on a little bit more specific question. One of the conditions that is currently on that it can be selected right now is guest is likely to fly, but that condition, unlike the other condition, does not have a yes, no function. Other ones, say guest is bringing a child or not bringing a child. Is it easy to add the guest is not likely to fly as a condition in that, or is that a little bit more complicated to do? Because that's something I know for me personally would actually have a fairly large impact for my business, being able to create a different flow just starting like tomorrow for local guests. And it seems like the functionality may be there, it just doesn't have the not function.
Yeah, that might just have been an oversight on our side to not anticipate that use case. Yeah, I can take your feedback. I don't know if it's something we can jump on very quickly, but I appreciate you sharing that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Cool. Thank you, James.
While we're here on and touched on AI, can I just take the opportunity to answer a couple of questions that came up in QA? I said I'll do them live. So one from Lauren. So she asked if you have info in the Knowledge Hub, will that info automatically be plugged into the AI responses to guests where appropriate? Yeah, that is exactly the purpose of the Knowledge Hub. So that right now, when you click on Suggest with AI in the inbox, if you have the Knowledge Hub set up, if you've imported something into it, what we do at that point in time is basically behind the scenes automatically figure out what is the most relevant bit or bits of information from the Knowledge Hub that are relevant to this answer, plug it in, and the AI uses that to craft a more accurate, more relevant answer. So yeah, like once you get access, please do add your guidebook, your policy, PDF, whatever you have to expand the Knowledge Hub. And then the second one, someone asked something similar in one of the 2 past town halls. Michael asked this. When a guest asks a question and there's an auto response that doesn't address the question, is there a better way to help with this interaction with guests? So my first thought there is, keep in mind that this Suggest with AI is there for you as a draft. In many cases, it will be great as is, as I've kind of talked about earlier, but you're obviously not obliged to use that. So yeah, don't feel pressured by whatever the AI offers you. Like, it's there to help. It's not there to kind of be a force for not good. But in terms of, yeah, how can this situation be improved? So the Knowledge Hub is one of our initiatives in that direction. And we are looking at reworking behind the scenes what goes into the entire process of generating that message to one, potentially early abort when the AI basically said, like, can't give you an accurate answer for a variety of reasons. And two, to have a more of a kind of involved process, more of an involved process to get to the answer through several steps of kind of reasoning about like what's involved to get to that and what information it needs. So we have more working behind the scenes. But Michael followed up. I love this. This is live back and forth. So Michael followed up. It isn't a suggestion. It's already been sent. Wait, yeah, okay. I think you're talking about messages that you set up in guest experience that go out based on timing or events. And if there's something there that hasn't addressed the guest's question, right? So one thing we were looking at with, Andrew mentioned smart codes. We were looking at a revamp of guest experience and how AI hooks into that, giving the AI the possibility to inject basically additional content into those templates to potentially answer questions on the fly. That is there's a lot of pieces involved in that process. Like we're intentionally not rushing that, because we had a few early iterations and prototypes, and very quickly we saw that there are a lot of cases where this goes wrong. But long term, for us, long term is actually pretty short term. Basically, the next few months, what we're really looking forward to is working on an automated inbox product. We've hinted at this in a few town halls in like a month or two ago. This is the main kind of large project for AI over the coming months, basically the next quarter or so, where we want to give you the possibility of having an AI system that can accurately and reliably answer any message that comes in an automated manner, or not do so if it detects that it can't generate an accurate answer. So basically, you won't need the situation where you have a template, it goes out, something's not answered, and then you kind of need to step in. You'll have a system that manually answers as the conversation progresses. Yeah, hopefully that covers basically everything that's come up in these few messages.
Cool. Thank you very much, Nick. Good stuff. So we have Beth with her hand raised. Hello, Beth. Inviting you on stage now.
Hi, thank you. I wanted to know if it's in the works to integrate either your own system or integrate another phone system. Currently, I'm using like OpenPhone for people to call and to text in if they have any other issues outside of the platforms, because they feel more comfortable calling in, if it's an immediate thing or something. Do you have something in the future to integrate that into Hospitable to have their own phone system and texting system?
Not today, but that is something we've spoken with vendors about recently. If you noticed in those job openings, my current position is one of the positions that's open. So I'm currently negotiating with Pierre to allow me a transitional project to upgrade the inbox to SMS, to WhatsApp, to telephony, and do something like that, where we could provision a business number for you. You could take calls in Hospitable, make calls from Hospitable, and switch between different channels in the same inbox thread. So you could have a multi-thread or a multi-channel experience, in the same thread. So it's near and dear to my heart. My past company was a contact center software. So it's something that it would be fun to work on. And it looks like as soon as I can get this senior product manager to take over the direct portfolio that I have, I would love to sink my teeth into that project. So hard to say an ETA, but I'm super excited to work on that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Beth.
Great stuff. Okay, inviting Matt on stage now. Hello, Matt.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm a prospective customer switching over from Logify. I have several properties in South Florida where we have elderly guests who really like paying by check. My question is, with the alignment of direct booking and manual now having a breakdown because they like to see how the cost was derived, will there be the ability to send that breakdown out to the potential guest as you would if they were going to pay by credit card, except that there isn't a click here to pay type of thing? And then secondly, would we see further alignment between direct booking and manual booking by connecting payment terms to a manual booking? So if it's a $6,000 booking booked 10 months out, they pay 50% up front, and 50% coming up 45 days. So I guess how close to direct booking do we think manual will get to? For folks that love credit cards, I want to offer them that. But some older folks just don't want to be bothered with credit cards, and the only way to fulfill the direct is by clicking through and actually making payment online. Having something that's structured that looks like that would be super helpful for these older folks who need reminders about when their payments are due. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, good questions. I don't think I have like a concrete answer for either of them. So on the manual side, I think where we'd like to go once we get this form updated is it should work with our short codes. And so, yes, you would be able to get more of these variables into your messaging rules since we now have more structured data. there's some unknowns there. It's not something we've been able to look at yet. So yeah, provisionally, I would say we'll investigate and see what we can do there. On the payment term side, I think it's a little bit more dangerous. Like we'd have to be, I think, quite cautious about doing that because we're not able then to manage any of those statuses for you. And I think the danger would be that we create the expectation that we're going to be managing a payment term cycle for you, and we don't have anything in place to know when a payment has been made. And we're going to end up having some hosts that have the expectation that there's some kind of automated collection going on in a manual reservation. That's not the case. And you would have someone check in that hasn't actually completed the payment for their reservation. So it'd have to be a lot of attention, a lot of care for us to have like a partial payment terms infrastructure in place for manual bookings. It's very much a direct flow where we try and have it work on autopilot for you, where we auto cancel reservations if we're really unable to get a payment for you because we can't have a guest check in that hasn't paid for their reservation. So I would start from a position of skepticism on that. But I appreciate the thought, and maybe it's something we'll explore as a product team later. And I think we've lost Matt, but he can get this response on YouTube, I guess. Oh, yeah, he's still here, but
He's
just off the
in the
stage.
chat, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Thank you very much for your question, Matt. And feel free to let us know in the chat if there is a follow-up there or at all. Emily, I believe you had a couple of questions from the Q&A that you wanted to answer off here.
Yeah, there's 3 questions specifically about owner statements, so I figured I'll just answer them all at once, especially in case someone else is thinking about asking them. I can take care of it. The first question I'll cover, what are commissions? Great question. So to back up a little bit, owner statements is a feature that's really aimed towards people who are managing properties for other people. So we have a huge subset of hosts who are managing their own properties. That's how I came to know Hospitable as a customer. I was managing my own property. But then there's those who are property managers who manage for other people, for owners. So for owner statements, we allow you to set up a commission structure. So whatever your agreement is with your owner, maybe it's that you'll take 20% of the accommodation. Maybe you'll take 20% of the fees. Maybe you'll take $5 per reservation. I don't know what it is, but whatever your agreement is with the owner, you can define that commission within Hospitable, and then we'll do the calculations for you. So every time you get a reservation from a platform, we know the owner of that property and we know your commission agreement with that owner. And then we run all the numbers for you, put it on a nice statement with all the accurate numbers so that you know at the end of the month what your owner owes you or what you owe your owner if you're holding the payouts first. So that's a little bit of an overview about what commissions are. But like Miles said earlier, we have a Q&A happening next week. So we can go into a lot more detail on stuff like that if you have questions about owner statements, how they work, commissions. The next question was about, do owner statements have the ability to do like recurring flat fees? So sort of. We do have the ability to add transactions. So this is like, if you want to charge your owner for a trash pickup service, you can add that to a statement and that would be charged to the owner and show as an amount that they actually owe you back for. We don't have the recurring part of that done yet. So if it's something that you want to do every single month, you can't do that right now automatically. You would have to go in and add it every single month, but we're working on the recurring part so that you can just define that once, let it go, and then every month we would put that charge on there to the owners for those recurring things that happen in your properties. Transactions is also intended to be the place where you hold just like any other expense, refund, or whatever, any other money exchange between you and your owner. So if you're doing like a supply restock or whatever it may be, that can be handled as a transaction as well. So that's to answer the flat fee question. The last one that I saw is the prorated setup going to be ready for Mogul launch? So we're launching Mogul next week on the 15th. I don't think we'll be done with prorated by then, but I think we should be very soon after. So please still, if you need prorated in order to use owner statements, please still reach out and we can just like flag you as needing prorated so that we know to reach out once it's ready, because I don't think it'll be too much longer until prorated is ready. I think that's it.
Cool. Thank you very much, Emily. Okay, we next have Mike. Mike, inviting you on stage. Hello, Mike.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, awesome. So yeah, a couple of things. I was just kind of curious what the update is with the Vrbo. I know they're pushing people onto their new API and requiring hosts to become the merchant of record and all that stuff, which I'm certainly not interested in. I know you guys have been trying to hold that back on that or come up with a different solution. So just kind of curious what you're doing with that. And then lastly, just kind of wondering maybe how would you guys go around handling a listing that doubles, that has multiple, it's one house, but it has multiple listings, right? It could be a 4-bedroom house or it could be an 8-bedroom house, right? But when it's a 4-bedroom house, it needs to block out the calendar for the 8-bedroom house, right? Because yeah. So like, just kind of curious. Like I've tried it both ways, setting them up as different listings within the hospital and setting them as the same listing. But I'm just kind of curious on how you guys would handle it.
No, Emily can answer the second question. She's got some great news for you. On the first question, the Vrbo question, we are in very good contact with Vrbo. There are some new features, like you said, that are coming online, and we're kind of slated for a pilot. I don't think we can officially announce that yet. But basically the next step is we're going to meet with them at the end of September, early October, and hopefully be one of the charter clients to build out the new Vrbo payments flow, which was where they're going to be the merchant of record, just like Airbnb is the merchant of record for their payments. So yeah, that's fingers crossed. We'll be doing the official integration with Vrbo as the charter platform for Vrbo payments. And we'll be updating you guys as we get more information on that in these town halls, and probably won't have any more new information though until early October on that.
Well, that sounds promising.
Emily, did you want to jump in on parent-child is what we call this internally?
I do.
Externally too?
Andrew's been making fun of me for talking about parent-child too much, so I'm glad that I get to do it one more time when he won't make fun of me. So we do have a feature native to Hospitable called the parent-child feature. This is intended for people who have one property that they like split up in a couple of different ways and list independently. So what our recommendation would be is to don't try to configure parent-child specifically on each and every platform, because some of them attempt to support this, but they don't do it the same way, and it's tough to bring them into alignment. So if you do have a property that you're doing parent-child with, like you do, we would ask that you create a listing for every single unit, if you will. So you mentioned one house that has 4 different rooms. So that would, in my mind, be 5 listings, one for the whole house, and then one for each of the rooms. Then on your properties page, there's like a checkbox next to each property. Go select all 5 of those, and a purple parent-child button will pop up. Click that. It's going to ask you a couple questions about how you want it configured, and call it a day. It'll be done. So we'll block calendars accordingly. So if there's a booking on the child, we'll block the parent. If there's a booking on the parent, we'll block the child. And again, we manage all that, we own that, and we send that information to the individual platform. So you don't have to worry about trying to configure it there. Do it in Hospitable, and we'll take care of all the blocking.
And then it'll update the calendar. The problem I have now is I just have it as the same listing, if you will. And like the cleaners, so they don't know if it's the whole house or if it's the half house, listing. So it's a little bit harder for them. They can kind of guess from the guest count, but they don't know which platform it came from, whether it was I call it the light listing or the other one. So maybe play around with the child feature.
We got you covered, Mike. It's the perfect solution for you.
Awesome, thank you.
I'll throw a help article in the chat as well to show you how to configure it.
Oh, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much for the questions, Mike. Okay, we have time for just a couple more people who have their hands raised.
Okay. Yeah, I've got a bunch.
Go on, interject. I'll let you interject briefly. Go on.
Okay. I'll just do one then. Let's see. How close are we for rental agreements to be ready for Airbnb and Vrbo? This question comes from Christy. We're working on it now. Rental agreements, I think there's a lot of improvements we want to make too before we release it outside of the beta audience right now for direct reservations. But that does have resources right now. So we're adding a preview for your rental agreements, and we're going to make some general improvements, not generic. And then we'll do all the work to make sure that those work within the guest portal, and the guest portal that now works within all the different OTA reservations. So that's on like a 4 to 6 week timeline, probably for rental agreements to be live for everything. Go ahead, Miles.
Cool. Thank you very much. Inviting James on stage. Hello, James.
Hi, I just had a quick question on the Hospitable's direct website. Is the long-term vision for that to expand into more offerings like custom pages, maybe pop-ups to capture emails to unlock remarketing, or is it more to stay basic and build more integrations with third parties to allow hosts to work with third parties if they want to do other things?
Yeah, it's a bit of both. I think it's been kind of the least amount of pressure we've had of all the components of direct, because you're not blocked by us, right? So anyone can create their own site, work with a developer, work with a vendor, do it yourself. And you just need to drop our widgets onto your pages for them to work. And now you can build your own widgets. But yeah, the long-term vision, given resources and enough time, is to have the best solution on the marketplace for direct sites that work out of the box, require no setup, and do everything you want them to do. But yeah, that's the dream. We've been on a long journey to get there. We had to rip out one of the vendors we had in the beginning that was really blocking us and making it difficult for us to make progress. So we've done that work. Now we're finally getting some resources. So we've got a developer that has, like I mentioned, a lot of experience doing these, and he's only had a little bit of time to make some quick improvements. But yeah, the roadmap is basically infinite for where we can expand and improve those. But today, if your site is important for you, converting more bookings, and it's important for everyone to a certain degree, but sometimes all you need is a basic site. You're welcome to build your own, work with a third party or something else. So we've tried to give more resources towards the other valuable features that we also want to build and are blocking issues for hosts that we have to do ourselves.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, James. And then just taking one more question from the audience. Secrete, inviting you on stage now.
Hi, thank you, Miles. I appreciate it.
But you're a little quiet there. We can't hear you. If you want to try and move your mic a little closer.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Just about, yeah. Oh, and unfortunately gone, just like that. Okay, that gives us a chance to move to the next in queue. Rebecca, inviting you on stage. Hello, Rebecca.
Hi. I was just wondering, will you add a feature that can reach out to guests so that it will incentivize them to come back to your property, like some sort of marketing where it's like, oh, it's spring where I am, like here are the events that are happening, like you should come back and stay at my home again. I know that there are some platforms that do that.
Yeah, it's not something that we really focus on as a company. I think the only marketing really integration we have is MailChimp, which just helps you build that mailing list, and then you're on your own to kind of do that outreach. We have promotions that you can create in direct for that kind of purpose. But yeah, it's not something that we're really planning to work on ourselves. We might be doing more integrations with marketing software, but it's probably something that's a good question. I'm sorry, my cat is really getting in the way here. Something for our Facebook host group that you could ask what kind of solutions people are already using today to do that kind of marketing. Because yeah, I don't think Hospitable is a blocker for you to do a more advanced, more automated outbound campaign. It's just not something that we do. And you do have to be careful, on how you use people's contact information that you acquire through OTAs. There is kind of a gray area that you're playing in there.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Cool. Thank you very much, Rebecca. Okay. Secrete didn't come back, unfortunately. So I think we're gonna have to call it there. Andrew, did you have a couple more questions?
Yeah, I mean, I can go through the ones that I've marked for live. If people, you're free to go if you don't want to stay for these. But Juan has asked, is there a way to request additional payments from guests using API calls? The scenario, having a form for the guest requesting pool heating, and automatically it's going to send the money request. Yep, that's on the roadmap. So we kind of, it's as we talked about in previous town halls, it's kind of a direct feature that's going to be expanded to other platforms. It's going to be based on the guest portal. We've kind of talked internally about what would essentially be a product catalog of all the things that you sell, and being able to capture payments for those regardless of the channel that the user booked on, using the guest portal. So yeah, at the moment on Direct, you can make any kind of ad hoc charge request using the send or receive money. We want to make that a bit more, again, like more of an e-commerce kind of transaction, more of a product catalog. And that should be getting attention sometime soon. And then looking at how we can do that on other channels. So you can take those fees for anyone. And that's also tied into kind of the same kind of functionality for the upsells that I mentioned. So being able to sell an early check-in would be the same kind of infrastructure we would have for this pool heating fee that Juan asked about. Jessica asks, have you had experience sending Autohost results to Airbnb, Vrbo, etc.? Will they take the results seriously and allow you to cancel a sketchy guest without penalties? Personally, no. Probably also a good question for the Facebook host community, sorry. But that is something that definitely we've heard from Autohost, who's hopefully being truthful and not just biased. But yeah, if you do find like a material finding, and that does happen because, Airbnb isn't, requiring re-verification of guests every year. I've never had to verify my identity again since I created my Airbnb account ages ago. So if something came up in a background check, something came up, potentially not even something that Airbnb would know about, like a party risk, and there's enough evidence that you have suspicion, I've been told that those are good enough reasons for you to be able to cancel without penalties. But there's hosts that probably have better experience than I can comment on now, that you could find on our Facebook page. Miles, I'm doing all your work building up Facebook followers here for you. Kyler asks, can we turn on Ad-Hoc to go automatically to all guests instead of manual requesting? Yes, not out of the gate, but the idea with this whole this ad hoc guest verification is the first kind of ad hoc or embedded service that we're experimenting with. And the idea is we want to do the job for you regardless of who the provider is without you having to set up another account. And so we think that the best place to experience the service is to see the impact first. And so we want to put these guest verifications in the inbox. So when you have, like Emily said, that kind of gut feeling of like, hey, this doesn't feel right, oh, I can do a guest verification on this. If you like that experience, we'll soon be asking you, would you like us to do this for you next time automatically? And we're going to be able to also discount the services that we're providing when you start to automate those things and get to a volume. We're able to deliver them more cheaply, and we're able to automate them, which is on brand for us, trying to save you time. So that is definitely part of the path. It's not going to be out of the gate. And will it include super hog coverage? Not initially, but that is one of maybe the next embedded service we look at is how can you add insurance to a booking, again, in that ad hoc moment of having that gut feeling, and then automate that because you have a good experience with adding that insurance. So yeah, those are both on the roadmap. And that's all the ones I had to mark live.
Cool.
To answer
Awesome.
one, sorry.
No worries, that's perfect. And I think we are a couple of minutes over, so I think we are going to have to call it there as well for today, folks. But thank you so much, everyone that joined. A couple of 100 people live today, so always fantastic to see. Lots of great questions in the chat. As always, you can reach out to our support team if we didn't answer anything here. I'm sure that Nick would love any questions you have around AI as well. His calendar is still
sounds
in
lonely.
the chat somewhere. Yeah, he just wants some friends to play with. But thank you very much, everyone.